Welcome to Issues. And as you know, we are the community program that we feature people in the community who are movers and shakers, individuals who are making a difference to the society in Bermuda. This evening we have with us McCartney Hart. McCartney Hart. And all of us, most of us in Bermuda are familiar with McCartney because of her vocal prowess. But she's doing something different now, has been for a few years, and we'll find out just exactly what that is and how that impacts our Bermuda. Welcome, McCartney.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here. Tell us something about building blocks. Tell us, number one, what building blocks is all about, and then tell us how it all started.
Okay, well, Building Blocks is Bermuda's first performing arts preschool, and performing arts is, as you said, is a huge part of my life. So what we do every day is we encourage children to learn obvious academics, of course, because that's hugely important in the early childhood time frame. But we encourage children to learn through dance and through song and through art and through theatric expression. So throughout the day, they're going from class to class and they're doing all of these awesome things. And we've also included a really exceptional math class and Spanish class, along with science and social studies. So it's really become an all-encompassing program, whereas the vision when it first got started was performing arts.
You're talking about dance and music and art. Wow, that is fabulous. And you even mentioned Spanish. And I can imagine those young children, their brains are really adept at picking up a foreign language at this early age.
It's absolutely amazing how the children are taking the Spanish in, and I know a lot of schools on island have reached out to different languages because they're sponges, as we all know, yes. And and their brains really are absorbing a lot of information. So the 3-year-old class, to give you an example, they can say all of their farm animals in Spanish. They know the food they eat. They know the colors. They know shapes. And you know, it's our hope that they leave us really well-rounded. But in this day and age, a second language is so, I mean, I'm from America, and Spanish is really an all-inclusive language. It's everywhere. And so it's important to do that. And I truly believe if you start with a language early, it can stem to other languages a lot easier than, of course, trying to start that at 30.
I agree. Now, before we get to building blocks, well, how did we get to building blocks?
We got to building blocks because, honestly, I struggled tremendously through school. I barely passed preschool. I think the only thing my mom said I was able to do... Preschool? I'm telling you, preschool. I struggled in preschool. And that's not a good way to get started in education, but my mom said I could barely cut with scissors. And they pushed me on through to first grade, of which I had to repeat because I really honestly was not learning like everybody else. I had a teacher tell me in second grade that I was stupid and that's why I wasn't learning. And I'm not afraid to admit that I'm still not a great reader, but I wasn't even reading until I was 8 or 9 years old, which, as you can imagine, you know, I'm 30 now. Bullying has gotten worse along the years, but bullies were still there back then when I was in school. And it was a huge challenge, and I took major blows to my self-esteem. And I just kind of throughout my life, through singing and different ventures, really had always had the passion to make sure that children, even if it's one in my presence, that I could do something to help them have a better experience than I did. Yeah, you know, and back then they didn't know about learning styles and learning disabilities, and now we don't even know if they're disabilities because in some regards what was my challenge has also been a true blessing in my life.
Someone once said that everyone can learn, we just learn differently.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I'm still waiting to see how we got to building blocks.
Okay, so we got there. I was at a family reunion in the Adirondack Mountains, and like you said, if you know me, you know that I've got a pretty big personality and I'm pretty expressive. So I woke up one morning and I walked into the food cabin where I think about 45 people were sitting, and I stood up on a stool and I made a large announcement that you know, a year from now I was going to open up a performing arts preschool in Bermuda. And they all were like, oh, that's great, you're crazy, and ha, 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 come get breakfast. And literally the rest of the vacation, I hid out in my cabin. I had my computer on my lap, and I wrote up a business plan. And
now, about how many years ago was this?
I want to say this was about 5 years ago. Yeah, roughly 5. A year to the date, I opened up a soft opening of Building Blocks. A year to the week, the weekend.
Wow.
And my family still to this day is like, that was sensational. How did you pull that off? And I said, you know, I really and truly believe that when I was on that vacation, I was doing a lot of soul searching, and I really was doing a lot of praying. And I said, you know what, I really am ready to make the next step in my life, and I don't know what it is. And this concept came, and I love children so much. I have a tremendous passion for them. And so I that's where I got started, and it just kind of started rolling from there.
I understand also that you used to do summer camps?
Absolutely. I started with L3 Camps, which was a hugely successful business. I had several friends who I had met through other jobs that I had in Bermuda since I've lived here, who said, you know, you would be really, really excellent if you did summer camps. And at the time, summer camps were starting to evolve a little bit more, but there was still not as many opportunities on island as parents were hoping. So I started doing performing arts camps, and I did them every single school break. And one summer I had 95 students, which I thought was pretty awesome. And they were exceptional. The children are so amazing. They love being in the environment. I went ahead and tried to do as much as I could to get them stimulated. So, you know, as much as we tried to keep them outside for the summer, we also had things like rock band, and we had the arcade basketball game. And, you know, there was a lot of awesome lessons I learned in the camps. I learned that, you know, children can be reached in every which way. You just have to figure out what it is they're interested in. So, you know, our performing arts...
Well, I don't believe you're an educator.
I'm not an educator.
Well, how did these various concepts, even listening to you, you said that students can learn in various ways. How did you learn that? Where did you know that from?
You know what, honestly, I don't know if I have the answer for that. I really and truly feel that I'm in tune to humanity and to life, and I pay attention to things. And like I said, you know, the teacher said I was really stupid, and it took me probably till about maybe 4 or 5 years ago to realize that I really wasn't stupid, that I actually was quite bright.
It took 4 or 5 years ago you
Correct.
Recognized that you weren't stupid. At the age of 25, 26, that's when you found out that you weren't stupid.
That's when I started thinking about it. It wasn't even that I'll be completely honest with you. There's times when I still have to look at myself in the mirror and say, you are not what they said you are. You are exactly who you are, and you can make it, or you can do it, or you can accomplish.
That's why early childhood impressions can form the rest of your life. In those early years when people were teasing you and telling you you couldn't learn, even up to now, it's a struggle, but you are overcoming it, and you've overcome it. But every day you have to remind yourself that, hey, I can do it,
Absolutely.
And you are doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I think that there's a lot of vulnerability in saying publicly, especially at a show like this, that you have some of those insecurities still. I don't, however, let them stop me. I'm humbled by them because they've helped to cultivate who I've become, but I'm also always reminded of what I went through, so that every child who comes via Building Blocks Academy, via, you know, somebody asked me to babysit, or now my son now has a friend over. Every single step that I make in relationship to a young child, I'm constantly reminded of what I went through, and so I want to I want to be an overachiever with children, so that they have the absolute best start they can, even if it was just a 5-minute conversation with me.
Let me see if we can get a timeline now. You were doing summer camps. Then you had a vacation in the Adirondack Mountains. You had this epiphany. You created this business plan for Building Blocks, and year to the week, Building Blocks started.
That's correct.
What were some of the major challenges you faced during that year? The year previous to starting Building Blocks.
Okay, so previous to starting the year, I kept the camps. I kept the camps running every school break, and you may remember this, but I was the assistant to the oncologist at the hospital.
I remember. I wrote a reference for you.
And I'll tell you, that's right. And I'll tell you, if I would have known at all what that experience was going to do for what I was getting ready. You know, everything in life is a stepping stone, and I love the quote from Dr. Martin Luther King that says, "You don't have to see the staircase; you just have to take the first step." You know, being in oncology, and then knowing that I'm on the brink of being with young children was the most remarkable experience, because it literally cut me open as a human being and brought raw passion. Now I'm not a perfect person, and I definitely have my downfalls, but the oncology clinic really brought some pure compassion, patience, love. I mean, I've never felt the emotions I felt.
I find it so interesting that you seem to be taking various experiences in your life and building on that to where you are now. And even with building blocks, you are taking that experience to go higher, which we'll talk about just in a little while. So again, some of the major challenges, or one major challenge?
I had a couple. You know, I had the health department. We had a lot of challenges. The health department, you know, I love why they're there, and I know that they were trying to make sure that, you know, at above and beyond, the children were safe. But you know, we had challenges. They some of them didn't like the fact that my concept was really untraditional and out of the box. I believe there is no box.
In terms of performing arts.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. And so I had some challenges there. We had, you know, planning took a little bit of time. And then, you know, there were just some naysayers who just absolutely thought, we had naysayers in the Department of Education who heard of the concept and said it will absolutely never succeed, and they will not be able to reach and teach the children. Well, I can tell you this, the graduates who are leaving us this year, they're leaving speaking basic Spanish. They're reading. They can give a speech in front of a crowd exceptionally well. Better than some adults. I know it's pretty tantalizing to like get up in front of an audience as an adult and talk, and they'll get up and they'll impress you quite. I mean, they're pretty amazing. All children are amazing, so I know all preschools on the island must feel this way about their young ones. But yeah, it has made its way in the community, and I'm glad that we kept pushing. Somebody told me, you know, if every door shuts in your face, you have to find a window, and if there are no windows, you have to find a hole.
Wow.
And that's what we did. And I don't know if you remember this at all, but I was pregnant the entire time I was building the school. Oh, and that came as a miracle because, you know, I wasn't expecting him. And when he came and the school came, one of our potential parents, who now is a child who's graduating this year, said, "This is the best gift you could have ever been given, because parents will always ask you, how can you tell me what's going on with my child if you're not a parent?" And I never even thought about that. But you know, you made a point, and I just want to go back to it. I wasn't thinking I'm making these steps and learning from these experiences. It's not till now that I really take some time to reflect. They say hindsight's always 20/20. I wish that I had the knowledge I had now back then to encourage myself. Because a lot of the times I really was discouraged, and I wasn't thinking, well, you just came from the oncology ward and now you're here. I wish I had that insight then.
We're going to stop right here. We're going to take a break. We're talking to McCartney Hart, entrepreneur, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Issues. We're talking with McCartney Hart, entrepreneur, co-owner of Building Blocks, one of the fastest growing child care centers in Bermuda, from 18 months up to 4 years old. These students at that young age are learning Spanish, they're doing math, but probably what's most interesting about the school, it also has performing arts at its base. Okay, let's get back to Courtney. McCartney, what would you say probably is one of the greatest features of your school? I don't know if you would say it's the performing arts part. Would that be it?
You know, I think that if the population in Bermuda who've seen it were answering this question, they would say the aesthetics of the school, because we really and truly set it up to be similar to kind of like a children's museum. So there's different centers. We have a child-sized grocery store. We have a ball pool. We have a stage in the drama class with movie theater seats, so the kids get to watch each other and celebrate each other's victories.
I've got to stop you now. as I'm listening, where did you get the money in these
Right.
difficult economic times?
Well, we're in the economic empowerment zone,
Oh,
and Roxanne Christopher. Now that
Yes.
wasn't intentional. That was actually just, I really truly believe, serendipitous, because Tori, who's my business partner, he was the Mirrors coordinator, or
Yes,
the assistant
yeah,
coordinator at
yes.
Mirrors, and he was going to look for office space.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Major Wilson was the major at the Citadel, and Tori was trying to figure out how to put office space in there. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. Not a space like this. No, 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 not office. This is going to be a preschool. And Major Wilson said several preschools have tried to figure this space out, and it's just such an awkward space they haven't been able to do it. And I said, you know what, Major Wilson, I really respect that. And if you just give me 15 minutes, I'll give you a mock-up of roughly what I'm thinking. And he said, girl, you're dangerous. You're dangerous. This is awesome. When do you want to get started? So I had his support from the beginning, and I really, really appreciate the Salvation Army and the Citadel they have been phenomenal to us. Mm-hmm. They have absolutely been phenomenal. Where there's been a need, they've been right there. When they've had a need, we've tried to be there. It's such an amazing relationship that we have with them. We're truly beyond blessed. Yeah. Every single person there has been so amazing to us.
We've had Roxanne Christopher on here, and she truly had a very vital program in terms of theater. From what I can recall, she said she helps entrepreneurs with business plans and funding, so everything. So
let me just please stop and just say, Roxanne Christopher and Bermuda Small Business and the Economic Empowerment Zone, we couldn't have done this without them. We couldn't have done this. Roxanne was able to give us such support. She was able to kind of give us a insight to maybe what challenges we might face, and she was spot on every time. She's been there to hand me tissues when I've cried. She's been there to celebrate and clap when there's been victory. She's been there to be an awesome mediator for Tori, who's my business partner, and I, so that because we're two different visionary people, so coming together, we've had to figure out a way, and it's matriculated nicely. But they've been phenomenal. And the other thing too is Shantia Steed at HSBC. I went to her with my business plan, and I sold her on a brief presentation. I was hoping to sell her on a brief presentation. And I was so encouraged because she said, if I had a child the age of a preschool, they would be at your school. Wow. This was before there was anything. And I did a test kind of market school of a really, really small group of children before we went for the big funding, just to make sure that people in the community wanted something like this or was looking for something like this. And what I found is we had a waiting list that was quite large because parents were looking for something extra. We're realizing that in this day and age, with all the technology and all the exposure to life and to the world and different countries, that their children, they wanted them to have something extra, that it wasn't just a traditional way of learning. And I think a lot of the preschools are trying to adapt to opening up to, wow, this is a totally different world now. How do we, change our academic styles and the creativity of how we get the information to the children? So I actually applaud several of the preschools on island, because I think everybody's trying to get the information to the children with love and compassion, but in a really strong way that sets a foundation that's unshakable.
Okay. Let me ask this. Earlier on, I indicated and you said that you are not an educator. But one of the things that you pointed out, that your children, your graduates, are doing very well in the primary schools that they attend. So where do you get the curriculum? Who's the foundation of the curricular part of your school?
Well, I'm happy to say that our entire staff is Bermudian, which is exceptional. And it was difficult because it hasn't always been that way. But
was that intentional, or it just happened that way?
I always wanted to try to keep our core base Bermudians, because I think Bermudians are some of the most talented people I have ever met. And I think the Bermudians have a passion for children as a whole. I can give you an example. I've been away in America, and every 10 seconds I'm holding on to my child and I'm feeling this anxiety. As soon as the plane landed, if Spencer runs away from me for a little bit, I know the person who's going to bring him back. I'm pretty sure I've either seen them, they're my neighbor. So, in Bermuda, I don't want Bermudians and expatriates or whoever's here right now, I don't want anybody to take for granted that although we face challenges. Bermuda is an exceptional place to live. There's a lot of commerce to be had. There's a lot of love to share, and there's a lot of learning to do, but it's also a really safe place. So to get back on topic, I'm not an educator. My Bermudian staff is exceptional, head up by Chandra Mabry, who's been with me for quite some time. We worked together at a previous employer, and I just have always seen true talent in her. She has a degree in art. She's exceptional. She could go into any class and teach. That's the great thing about my staff. Sade Witter, she's my math teacher. She's exceptional. She has a degree in math. But if for some reason Spanish calls out that day, she can step right into Spanish and handle it. That's what I find exceptional about the staff. The other thing that I find so amazing about them is if you give them all the resources in the world, or if you give them one resource for 1 year, my staff will figure out a way to cultivate, create, be abstract, be practical, be present to whatever the theme is or the subject of the month. They blow my mind. And the most awesome part about being an entrepreneur right now for me is that we have figured out, we have found a staff that far exceeds my abilities, far exceeds my talents. And that's why we're thriving. So that's why Tori and I've said, well, let's kind of creep out the back door a little bit and just watch and see what they do. Exceptional work.
That ability that you just expressed in terms of finding people who are better than you are in terms of their area of specialty, I think is a mark of a good leader. Because when you met, sometimes leaders don't want to find people who are better in certain things than they are. But the thing about it, it takes a certain quality, it takes a certain insight to identify people who have qualities that can make your program run well. And you have done that. So Absolutely. That's excellent. Now,
so the other thing I just want to say really quickly that I did is I have a staff of people who are very, very close, and everybody said that is a very dangerous thing to do. So 3 of my closest friends are my employees. We've got family members, we've got cousins, we've got all these people, and people ask us all the time, how in the world do you make that work? It's about a mutual respect. Every single teacher up there. Now, every industry has their issues, right? But it's how they work at it and how they're doing it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that we have a lot of close-knit people, and that, I think, is making a little bit of magic up there as well.
Good. Now, a few weeks ago, we met in the restaurant. You were with your husband, I was with my wife and some guests. And what really intrigued me, and we haven't touched it yet, but what really intrigued me, you indicated that you were going to, or attempting to start, a building blocks in the States.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I've done a lot of market research in America, and you would never believe this, but this concept is really just not there, and especially in Massachusetts, and that's where I was raised. So yeah, I have a cousin who lives in Burlington, Vermont, who is super duper into education, and she's super into, everybody in Vermont is very green. They're all about environment. They're all about healthy eating. They're all about, having each other's backs and everything. It's an unbelievable community. I've been there for the first time, and it was really, really, it was amazing to me because it almost had a Bermuda feel in the middle of Vermont. And so it looks like Vermont might be our first location, but we also have had a tremendous amount of feedback about starting it in Arizona, and of which some financial investors have stepped forward.
Already?
Which is absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, would this be a Bermuda-based company with outlets in the States, or would you relocate the headquarters of Building Blocks to the States? What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I don't know how you feel about this, but being that I'm American, so many of my American colleagues would say, bring it to America. But you know what? I feel so matriculated into the Bermuda culture. I've been here for 8 years, and I would absolutely adore being one of the people who can spread the word about Bermuda and how exceptional we are, not just for beautiful sands, but for beautiful talent. And so the business will forever remain Bermuda-based. And I truly believe that some of the uniqueness of the school can't be denied. It's Bermuda. And so yeah, so I'll definitely keep it Bermuda-based, and wherever we decide to go, because we're looking outside of America as well. The crazy thing is that this concept, I think one of the reasons why it's really taking off is Tori and I have so much passion about when we talk about it, it seems like it's a really easy sell. Now, it's not the easiest thing to put up because we've had our challenges, but our staff speaks to it like that as well. So we'll get phone calls from people in different countries and emails on our Facebook page, and we're like, wow, bring this to Africa and bring this to the Cayman. And I'm just like, what? This is amazing to me, because I never really did a big, the projections for me were just to make sure that as many children as we possibly could be blessed by this program. Now we're looking at an international business that's exceptional.
We have about 2 minutes left. If things go exactly the way you want it to go, when do you see yourself opening your first child care center in the States?
Within this year, if I muster up the strength.
2014?
I would love it. And you know what? I could definitely say 2015, because the construction takes an awful while, and you can never really foresee the issues that might come up. But yeah, I would say 2015, definitely.
Amazing,
absolutely.
Amazing. Now, one of my first interaction in terms of meeting you was as a singer. Now, where does that career stand?
You know, I love singing with all my heart. It's like the biggest passion. I'm not sure. I'm kind of like, I'm just kind of looking into some other options on singing, and I'd like to kind of expand the musical side of BBA. Of course, I'm going back to the business. I love singing, but I kind of feel that it's a relationship that if I don't want it to become so serious that it's not something that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. And I do love BBA, and it's so exciting. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I think that I love it. I don't know. I love singing, but I also love all the other things that are going on. So if I could find a healthy balance of all of them, I would do it all.
Mm-hmm. In terms of singing, do you have any things coming up in terms of singing?
Well, the most recent thing I did was I was fortunate enough to sing on the John Lennon tribute album in Bermuda. That was exceptional. It was an amazing experience. I've got a few people in the States that have encouraged me to go try out for The Voice, which I was actually supposed to be at a callback for, but I came back to Bermuda to take care of some business. So I have to get back to you on that. I don't know. We'll see. But it is a passion of mine, definitely.
30 seconds left. If someone would like to enroll their child at BBA, what do they do? How do they get in touch?
They can call us and have a tour, and be prepared to leave excited. It's just 295-4222, which is for BBA. We're in the Yellow Pages. We have a Facebook page, which is Facebook/Building Blocks Academy, and it'll pull up the Bermuda page. And and come and info@buildingblocks.bm. And again, come and be prepared to leave excited. It's pretty exceptional. I'm very proud.
Thank you, McCartney. We have been talking with McCartney Hart, entrepreneur, excited person, effervescent person. She is the co-owner of Building Blocks, and we've heard how it started, and we also heard where it's going, possibly outlets in the United States by 2015. Thank you again for joining us with Issues, and we will see you next week.